Have you ever heard of a brand that is as successful as any brand can be, but at the same time is hated by the very customers who shop there? Well, if you haven't, don't worry about it, because today I'll talk about Zumiez, a store that specializes in sports and activewear, but they've got quite an exciting story to their name. So stick around to the end of the video to find out. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I always bring you a new and exciting story, and this time I have something a little different for you guys. A story of a famous and popular brand, which at the same time has been receiving hate from the same community and customers they serve. So, without any further ado, let's get into the story. Before I jump right into talking about why Zumiez is so hated, I will talk a little bit about their background and the success that they have achieved during their journey as a brand. Zumiez has made quite a name for itself in the fashion industry, though interestingly, they never were and aren't a casual or general fashion brand. Zumiez specializes in selling product lines full of gear and protective equipment, especially those used in skateboarding, snowboarding, and motocross. Started back in 1978 by two partners, it was initially named Above the Belt, quite a quirky name for an apparel brand. Thankfully, it's not the same name anymore. It was changed to Zumiez a few years after its launch. Their stores are lined with clothing, shoes, skateboards, snowboards, and general equipment required by those engaged in these action sports. To make their customers feel at home, they have a specific theme that they have named Organized Chaos. But it's not just the theme, they also went above and beyond, and they designed their stores to appear much like a studio, where the customer can come, sit, and have conversations and of course make purchases. The general idea behind opening these thematic stores was to increase sales and engagement time. So if Zumiez does all of this for their customers, working to perfectly plan out and cater to not just the material needs of their customers, but to make them feel special, what went wrong? Or what was the one thing that they did so wrong that the people who helped them build a whole brand out of nothing began to throw so much hate? Well, answering that question is not so simple, as many things are at play in this love-hate relationship Zumiez has with its customers. I'll go over the reasons in a bit. First, let's talk about which customers hate Zumiez. Obviously, it's not possible that all of their customers hate them, and Zumiez is still up and running at such a great pace. It turns out it's the skateboarding community that has major disagreements with the way Zumiez operates. A few members from the snowboarding and motocross community might join the bandwagon with the skateboarders in spreading the word against Zumiez, though it's the skateboarding community that despises Zumiez. So, is this hate justified? That's what we're going to talk about now. Early in the beginning of the company's launch, Zumiez saw a business opportunity in the activewear and gear industry and jumped in to fill the gap. Everything has worked perfectly for them since they opened. Now the sudden hate that's coming from the skateboarding community seems to be because they believe that Zumiez has destroyed their culture while earning big profits for them. Well, I can't blame Zumiez because they didn't do anything wrong, both legally and, to be honest, morally. It's just that the skateboarding community carries a few rules that are inherent to themselves, and all the disagreements are based on that. To start with the reasons to hate, the very first concern that skateboarders raise is that Zumiez is just out there to sell the merchandise without really supporting the community. Before I go into detail of that specific agreement, let me tell you where all the demand for support comes from. Traditionally, when the local shops sell skateboarding gear, they used some of their profits to give back to the same community by hosting events and in other ways as well. That developed into sort of a cultural thing. Zumiez was not like other businesses though. They earn huge profits by selling their products, but to the skateboarders, they do not care about that culture. Zumiez does not deny the fact that much like other businesses in the industry, their main motive is to provide value to their customers through customer services, and yes, their financial motive is there too. Still, I will not hold Zumiez guilty, as you can't force them to support the community because it's not their obligation. This is what the skateboarding community hates about them. They hate that they earn their bread from the skater culture, but don't reciprocate by supporting the community. I get it. Now, it would be easy for someone to say, well, don't shop from Zumiez and go shop from the locals that support the community, right? This brings me to the second issue for which Zumiez receives even greater hate. Zumiez is accused of destroying the local skateboarding industry. You see, Zumiez is a big brand. To give you a rough idea, they have expanded their operations to over 700 locations, which isn't a small thing. So, being a big brand, they can source merchandise at a cheaper price and then are very much capable of sustaining themselves. That's not the case with local sellers. They don't earn big profits, and competing against a big giant like Zumiez is out of the question. Combining these two reasons, first, not supporting their sport and activities, and then damaging the local industry, certainly adds fuel to the fire of resentfulness. Though, this doesn't end here. Skaters also claim that the merchandise Zumiez sells at their stores is not up to the mark in terms of quality. Here, I will not blame it on the skaters, because they're not in the wrong. Zumiez has a strong motive to generate profit. And to earn this profit, they source the gear from some manufacturers that do not produce a product of quality that the skaters demand. Now with the local dealers gone and Zumiez reigning over the skateboarding industry, they aren't left with much choice besides buying whatever is available at Zumiez. This problem doesn't end here. There are so many skateboard manufacturers that produce at a relatively small scale, and yet due to their high quality, they are in high demand. Unfortunately, Zumiez does not consider it best practice to acquire merchandise from these small-scale producers, and instead prefer to buy in from big manufacturers. In this case, the hate may be justified. Zumiez shouldn't simply rule out a product just because it won't earn them desired profits. Before I discuss whether there is something on the part of the skateboarding community that can be done in this regard, I would like to talk about one last small issue that is raised by the community. Honestly, I'd say it's not the most sensible thing to make an issue about and hate on Zumiez for, but it's there, so let's talk about it. So the skateboarders say that Zumiez is run by posers. Why? Because they think Zumiez is making an utter joke out of the skater culture, as their employees don't skate. What's your take on the issue? Because honestly, there are so many examples where sellers are not the users themselves. The skateboarding community is structured in a way that it's their culture, and before Zumiez, it was under the control of locals, who themselves were very much involved in the sport itself. I believe there are some legit issues that could be resolved if the higher-ups at Zumiez and the skateboarding community would simply get on the same page. Still, the resentfulness is not justified. After all, every business must sell their merchandise and earn money. At the end of the day, it's up to them if they want to get in on a cultural thing or simply sell their products. They can do this to add additional value to their customers, but if they don't, you can't blame them. So, that's a wrap. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. And hit the bell icon for future notifications. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.